Hi everyone and welcome to our latest installment of Wilhelm's Weather Why. This is the segment in which we take a deep dive into some sort of weather or science topic. And one thing that's really been in the news a lot this summer when it comes to the weather is the rain, of course. It's been a pretty wet summer and we've had a lot of localized flooding issues with downpours, especially during the month of August. And this brings forth the question, hey, what is the cause of our increased rainfall and why are we seeing more flooding problems in some areas? In the last few years, we've had a lot of localized flooding problems in places such as Boardman and Poland and Struthers up into the Niles area as well. What we're seeing here across our region, in our climate zone, if you will, is probably a combination of things. Random chance, yes, some of this stuff would happen regardless of climate change, but climate change is definitely a driver. When it comes to the changing climate, in our part of the world, the biggest impacts from climate change, both recently and probably in the near future, have to do with precipitation. Yes, the temperatures are rising, but the bigger impacts come from the rise in precipitation. We're seeing more precipitation when it comes to climate change because of the amount of water vapor in the air. Rising air temperatures and rising water temperatures both lead to more water vapor in the air, more fuel for storms to feed on and create more intense downpours. We're seeing this not only here locally, but in other parts of the country as well. Now, climate change is a difficult topic to discuss sometimes. We can't really necessarily draw a straight line between each individual event and climate change. We can't say this flood was definitely a result of climate change in most circumstances. But what we can say is that the fact that the Earth's climate is warming and it's changing rapidly increases the odds of weather extremes, kind of loads the dice, if you will. The analogy I like to use is baseball. If you remember 20 years, 25 years ago in baseball, there were a lot more home runs than there used to be. It turns out a lot of those baseball players were on steroids. Now, a player such as Barry Bonds or Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire, they would have hit a lot of home runs anyway if they weren't on steroids. But the fact that they were on steroids increased the odds that any swing would result in a home run. And it's kind of the same way when it comes to the climate. The fact that the Earth's atmosphere is warming so rapidly, again, it's like the Earth is on steroids, and so any individual weather event has a higher chance of turning kind of extreme. Well, August has been a very wet month across our area, and this video is being recorded on August the 19th, and through August the 19th, we are now in 6th place on the list of wettest Augusts on record, and there's still 12 days to go in the month as of this recording. The wettest August on record back in 1956, 7.86. August typically not one of our wettest months. Our wettest months typically are late in the spring and early in the summer, and not necessarily late summer and early fall. Now, when we look at the seasons as a whole, the recent issuance of the new 30-year averages shows that, yeah, a lot of months are wetter than they used to be, with some exceptions. Exception in May, in July, and in November. During the summer season, this is actually the season, kind of counterintuitive, but this is actually the season in which we're seeing the slowest rise in the total precipitation values. That being said, August is the one month out of the 3 summer months that we've seen the biggest jump in average precipitation over the last few decades. So even though in the summer our total precipitation values are not rising as fast as some of our other seasons, we're seeing more of these big ticket rain days. And what I mean by that is days in which we pick up an inch or more worth of rain. You can see there's a lot of randomness on this graph. Some seasons don't have that many big days, but some do. But the trend is clear. Even though there's a lot of randomness, this is the trend line, and the trend since 1950 is up. We're seeing more days in which precipitation becomes more extreme, and climate change has some to do with that trend.